If you've seen the other Fast movies in the franchise, I don't see how you can go into Fast X with skewed expectations. The movie is a bit cheesy, absolutely ridiculous in the action and stunts, and it continues to lean heavily into its ongoing theme of family. Now, I was excited to see what absurdity this film would introduce because in F9, they sent a Fiero into space. So how in the world do you top that? In 2011's Fast 5, Dom and his crew took out nefarious Brazilian drug kingpin Hernan Reyes and decapitated his empire on a bridge in Rio. What they didn't know was that Reyes' son, Dante, witnessed it all and has spent the last 12 years masterminding a plan to make Dom pay the ultimate price. So the story is once again very simple. The crew goes on a mission that ends up putting each of them in danger thanks to a revenge plot. Now, the group is back with Vin Diesel, Michelle Rodriguez, Kang, Tyrese Gibson, Ludacris, Nathalie Emmanuel, Cena, Jordana Brewster, Charlize Theron, and new additions Daniela Melchior and Jason Momoa. Now, the stunt work, it is phenomenal, if not completely preposterous, but it's insanely fun. When there are car chases, the speed, maneuvers, and of course the crashes and explosions, they create a ton of excitement. And I felt myself just edging up in my seat thanks to the anxious tension that the longer they went on. Now these typically defy gravity and really all laws of physics, but that's also a large reason movies in this franchise are so exhilarating. Not only do we get to witness expert driving with immersive camera work, but then death-defying feats are piled on, making every action sequence a massive spectacle. And yeah, you do have to suspend a ton of disbelief, but if you haven't been doing that the entire time, I'm not really sure how you watch any of this franchise and have fun with it. Most of the time, the editing is done well, using longer takes to allow us to see the car choreography. But there are times when the cuts are very fast, not sticking on a scene for more than a second before switching again and again. This does create some visual excitement, but it also can break the momentum because we don't get to see all of the action play out in an immersive way. Now, despite the simple story, parts feel scattered at times, thanks mostly to a story element that actually segregates our characters into different locations. And because of this, some storylines, they feel neglected, like Letty's story arc. But then also the narrative that follows Roman, Ramsey, and Tej, they come across like they're just going way too hard for a laugh. There are moments that did make me chuckle with their chemistry and their timing, but there were also big segments that felt more annoying or at least grating as they continually rib and nag on each other. And it's not that it got mean, but when the same tone is used ad nauseum, it gets tiresome and then works against the mood and makes it hard to want to see more of those characters. And by segmenting these out, you have different genres almost that are tones and feels for each character arc. So like that, with Tej and the rest, it feels kind of cheesy, kind of just tired. When you have Letty, it's much more serious. Or when you're going after Dom, it's a definite different tone as well. Returning to the franchise is John Cena, playing Dom's brother Jacob. Now he's charming and naturally charismatic, and I like to call him a bankle. He's a badass uncle who is funny and endearing, and I love the sequences that we watch with him because he gets to be sweet and tender, which then contradicts his appearance and even some of his actions. We also get some new characters like Brie Larson and Alan Ritchson, and while neither are in this for an extended period of time, I thought they both brought some excitement and enjoyment when they came on screen. And as somebody who really did not enjoy the first season of Reacher, if Ritchson can take his charisma and his energy from this and insert it into that series, he may be a whole lot more likable for me. But the absolute standout in this movie is Jason Momoa. He steals every scene he's in. He channels Heath Ledger's Joker, Jack Sparrow, and maybe a touch of Hannibal Lecter, and then he dives headfirst into the role. He is shameless, and he knows exactly the type of movie that he's in and what is demanded of him in the character. And he delivers a villainous performance that's a joy to watch. Now, I wanted more and more of him, especially with his flamboyance and this devil-may-care attitude. And I love that he's unhinged, but not insane. He's very calculated and ruthless, making him sinister and dangerous. And from the moment he walks on screen, we know we're in for a wild ride with him. And his dynamic with Vin Diesel is great. Dom is a quiet and brooding character, typically with a slightly uncomfortable, constipated look to him. And then in stark contrast is Momoa's Dante. Not only are they polar opposites in dress and fashion, but in emotiveness and expression. Now, the movie's 2 hours and 20 minutes long, and there are portions when I did feel that time. This was especially true when there were stretches of the movie that were heavy on exposition and light on action. Now, the dialogue, it's not terribly riveting or deep, so I often found myself getting impatient just for the next bout of stunts to come on the screen. And that's not to say that whenever there isn't action, the movie's boring, but there was a noticeable drop in pace when the story would focus on dialogue rather than car chases. Now, I enjoyed the globe hopping the film takes us on, but some of the transitions and the introductions to a new locale, it felt more like a music video than a movie. There are edits that swoosh and zoom, creating just this sense of movement, but also sometimes it confuses the tone a bit. Now, you may have also heard that this movie could be split into a couple of parts. Well, in the screening I saw, the story just ends. No resolution. There wasn't even a title screen that said something like "to be continued." I mean, the scene, it just ends and the credits start. And this was disappointing, and it makes the story very incomplete. Everything is in the middle. So I really do hope that a part 2 is going to be released soon so that it can maintain the energy and the feeling that was created by this movie. There's also a mid-credit scene that teases possibilities for the future, so don't leave without seeing it. Overall, Fast X is a pedal-to-the-metal fun movie that knows exactly what it is, and it doesn't try to stray from the formula. The stunt work is thrilling and immersive, defying all plausibilities in order to deliver unapologetically absurd action. While some of the story drags when there's excess exposition, the magnetism of Jason Momoa takes a familiar story arc and catapults it into a dazzling spectacle of ridiculous excess. The biggest downside of the movie is that it's only part of a narrative, with no clear ending in sight. There's no sex or nudity, a lot of profanity, and a ton of violence. I give Fast X 3.5 out of 5 couches. So what kind of crazy stunts would you like to see the Fast franchise conquer? I'd like to see him use a blimp at some point, but let me know some insane situations that you think would be fun in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.